businesses into emerging Arctic markets in socially and environmentally sustainable manner, which is very important. Together with Vladimir Vasilyev Northern Forum at the end of last year, we decided to create this project, Arctic Business Relations Circle. We felt very important. We felt the big importance in catching up and staying connected and exchanging common challenges on the regular basis. So we believe it's very important to stay connected and always look for new business opportunities. We are happy to provide this platform for all of us to speak monthly, exchange ideas, and talk about different subjects. And I would like to spend some time right now going around the room, the virtual room, and have short introductions for all of us so we know who is on this call. So maybe just your name, organization, and where you're from. And to make this process more organized, the person who is speaking next is passing the word to somebody next on your screen. So Vladimir, you are next on my screen. I'm passing the word to you. Please go ahead.
Да, ну, я думаю, что, может быть, я последним представлюсь и краткое приветствие скажу.
Maybe I will be the last one to introduce myself and to say some greeting words. Well, my name is Vladimir Vasilyev. I'm the executive director of the Northern Forum. Hello, everybody. Karim, please.
Please, yourself, introduce yourself.
Thank you.
Кристина, может быть, вы по списку участников пройдете? Поименно каждого, потому что я...
Okay. Хорошо, давайте, хорошо. Okay, Karim, so I'm gonna go down the list. Maybe you can work on your audio feature for now because we can't hear you. So next on my list is Mark Dudley.
Hello, this is Mark Dudley. I'm with Inter-Pacific Aviation Marketing. I'm happy to be here. We work with Yakutia Airlines to operate the flights between Alaska and the Russian Far East.
Great, thank you, Mark. Alexandra Ponomaryova.
Yes, hello, everybody. My name is Alexandra. I work at the Secretariat of the Northern Forum. So look forward to hearing the presentations. So should I say, oh, no, okay, yeah.
I'll just go down the list so it would be easier. Mary Gibbons.
Hi, I'm Mary Gibbons, and I am from Connecticut, right outside of New York City. I've been involved with the Arctic for several years, and I give tours called the Arctic Adventure Bucket List Tour. I am very, very interested in sustainable and community-sensitive tourism while bringing, having people totally get out of their comfort zone.
Thank you, Mary. Anastasia Ponomaryova.
Hello, меня слышно? Что-то здесь.
Да, слышно, слышно. Что-то со звуком сегодня у всех. Okay, I'll just go down the list and then we hear from the people who had problems before. Любовь Федорова. Okay.
I'm from Yakutia, and I am translator of Chinese and Spanish languages.
Great, thank you. Алена Колосова.
Добрый день, вечер. Я прошу прощения, видео не включаю,
I'm
потому что
sorry, I don't have a video because I have some problems.
я работаю в секретариате Северного.
My name is Aluna Kolosova. I work with the Northern Forum Secretariat.
Анастасия Дейко.
Алло, да. Добрый день, добрый вечер. Кого
Hello,
какая
everybody.
шуток? Меня зовут Анастасия.
My
Я
name is Anastasia. I research Arctic from the point of view of photography. And today I will be glad to tell you about my project.
So I'm Anastasia. I'm currently now living in Peru, Lima, and I'm researching Arctic from the photography point of view. And I will be talking about my project Appearing of Disappearing, how we can express Arctic from the photography point of view, from the art of photography. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Дарьяна Максимова. Так, Дарьяна, понятно, или отошла, или нас не слышит. Окей, Дмитрий Быстров. Okay, for some reason, nobody wants to do the introductions, I guess, but if we could do that, this is very important. Dmitry Bestrov, can you introduce yourself, please? Okay, maybe later. Going down the list, Irina Maximova. Karen
Hello,
Berenson.
hello, hello.
Yes, go ahead, Irina. Yes.
Hello, my name is Irina Maximova from Moscow, luxury holiday of the world, tour operator of individual tours.
Great, thank you. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Karin Berenson, did you fix your audio? Karin, can you introduce yourself? Okay, maybe later. Vladislava Vishnevskaya. Anisia Lazareva.
Hello, yes. Nice to meet you all. I'm sorry it's 2 a.m. in the morning in Yakutia, so I'm sorry. I'm a bit off, but our team is really looking forward to the to this seminar, and we are really happy to have been invited for this event. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks for being here that early in the morning. Петелина Мария.
Доброго времени суток. Меня зовут Петелина Мария, город Ханты-Мансийск.
My name is Maria Petelina, Khanty-Mansiysk, head of Department of Information from the Unit of Tourism and External Relations. Sergey Noskin, I'm the head of Chamber of Commerce of Yamal.
I would like to know if I didn't call somebody and somebody wanted to make the introduction, because some of the names are not just first name and a last name, but the phone numbers, like iPhone Yulia, if you want to make the introduction, Or anybody, if you want to make the introduction now, or you can wait later for the discussion.
Well, can you hear me, Christina?
Yes, please. Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Veli-Matti Hettula. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. I'm from Finnish Lapland. I have over 15 years experience from Finnish Lapland and in the tourism sector. I'm a member of Lapland Tourism Specialists and a chairman of Lapland Tourism Cluster. I'm a regional developer. Nice to see you all. I'm the first time that I'm here.
That's great. Welcome. We are very excited to have Finland for the first time on our call. That's great. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to do the introduction?
Maybe I just like to greet you all. My time is 7 o'clock in the evening. I'm talking to you from Arendal in Norway. I'm very happy to be connected to the Northern Forum again, where we have participated several times. From my former time as working for WWF and UNEP, I'm quite familiar with the Arctic scene.
That's great. Welcome.
Tourism and conservation, which I'm representing, we are focusing on cases in the whole world where tourism is supporting the development and establishment of protected areas.
That's great. Welcome. We are very excited to have you. Anybody else would like to make the introduction? Who we missed from the list? Okay, if not at this moment, again, our June meeting topic will be the Arctic tourism. It's very important to talk about this topic and sustainably and environmentally matter. During our today call, we are planning to hear from many speakers. And first word for the welcome and a couple of words I would like to pass to Vladimir Vasilyev.
Да, спасибо, Кристина. Спасибо, уважаемые коллеги, дорогие друзья.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, dear friends. Thank you for joining us despite the time difference. So today, our fifth meeting, and the topic is very interesting, the tourism in the Arctic. And we all understand that during the pandemic, the industry of hospitality and tourism in general has faced many challenges, and it has been hit. And many tourist companies went bankrupt in many countries, and so there have been lots of discussions how to revive the industry, how to support tourism, and what new types of tourism could keep the companies alive. So we think that the borders are not opening shortly. So we cannot travel freely yet to have business connections or to get to know our culture. So the time is difficult for tourism and for the Arctic tourism with the little tourism flow. I'm not talking about Lapland, where tourism is very well developed, and I'm very glad that we have people from Lapland here, and I'm glad that Peter Prokosh is with us. He's a super professional in the tourism. So today I think that we are going to learn some lessons. And if this topic is interesting and if we have more to discuss, we are ready to continue our discussion in the coming years, in the coming months, or maybe next year. So we are ready to cooperate and So we would like to give impetus to tourism in our regions, not only in our regions, but also in other Arctic regions, because we have the same challenges and they are all interrelated. Uh, Today, I am talking to you from Vladimir, Vladimir Oblast, near Moscow. I am on vacation with my family. So we are on inbound tourism, so traveling around Russia. So we're looking at how constituent entities of Russia work with tourists now, what are the restriction measures and what are the preventive measures. As for Vladimir Oblast, we see that the situation is calm, the coronavirus situation is quite favorable, so all the tourist attractions are open. Before that, we were in St. Petersburg, where the World Cup has started. So the borders have been opened for the fans, and with this larger tourist flow, they have introduced some restrictions for the park, the tourist attractions, restaurants. As for the Sahara Public Figure, where the situation is quite complicated, so large events have been banned, and this year we are not going to celebrate our traditional summer festival of Uteh, the festival of the summer solstice, which usually uh, unites some 200,000 people. So this year it's going to be online. So this is all very relevant for many of us, and so we would like to listen to your recommendations, to your advice. So among the participants, I see professionals of the highest levels, and so we would like to hear your advice what to do. Uh, for example, I'm especially interested in what new kinds of tourism could be developed in the Arctic under the restrictions. And our today's meeting is being recorded, so it will be streamed on the YouTube channel, and so you can share the link with all your colleagues who are interested in the topic. So I'm really looking forward to today's discussion, and so after the presentation, there will be the open mic and everyone will be able to contribute or ask questions. So let's start and let's listen to our speakers.
Хорошо, спасибо. Okay, so now we will go down the list now. We have a big agenda, a lot of speakers, and we want to make sure everybody will get a chance to speak. First one on the list, I have Mary Gibbons, Arctic Adventures tourism consultant, ice and snow architect. And I'm very happy to have her here and see her here because she's a great friend of mine. We traveled a lot around the Arctic together, and I hope she can give us her presentation and tell us a lot of interesting things she has been working on.
Hello there. Hi. I'm so excited to be here. And Christina is a very, very good friend of mine. We have traveled quite a bit, and I'm just thrilled to be here. I do know that, for one, I do know that Americans are very, very anxious to start traveling again. And I do have a PowerPoint. I am not exactly sure how to use it. I think if I do share screen, does that work, Christina?
Yes, that's what you do. Share screen.
I share screen and then go to, oh gosh, I am sorry about this. I should have this. You know what? I don't want to waste people's time. I'm going to try and do that as I speak. So my background is I started building the Ice Hotel in 2005, the Ice Hotel in Sweden, which was a completely sustainable and very, very community sensitive project. I don't know if you all know Ice Hotel and what that it's in Reykjavik, Sweden, and it's a hotel made entirely out of ice and snow. Wait a minute, 1 second. I apologize for this. Should I not try to do this? Gosh, I'm sorry about that. I don't want to waste people's time. So it's made entirely out of ice and snow. People from around the world come, and it has really grown over the last 31 years. I believe, in my humble opinion, that it's almost become a victim of itself because it's become so large and has impacted the local town so much that it's sort of now dances that fine line between being wonderfully successful, but then also not being beneficial to the local people. Arctic tourists, they love two things. They cannot get far enough away. They just can't get far enough away. They just want to be as far away as possible, which is why I want to bring people to the North Forum. And they also love local intimate experiences. And I have found that the more personal an experience is, the more universal it is, and the more passionate people are about explaining their history, their ways of life, their daily life. It really runs the parallels of our daily lives, what we want for our families, our friends, our success. And so that is a very huge thing. I am so sorry about this presentation. If I put up pictures, would that work?
Absolutely.
I've also,
or you can send it to me later, and I will be able to send it to all the participants as well, Mary. Don't worry about it.
I can do that. I've also become involved with Tree Hotel in Hattik, Sweden, which is a perfect example of community sensitive and a tourism and having a very intimate setting, but then also reaching so many people. Tree Hotel has only 7 tree suites, and they're all by local architects. But while being there, you also see very, very local vendors. A very good friend of mine is a woman named Anna, who's a reindeer herder. And she not only brings you to see the reindeer, but you're really out there with the reindeer. You're actually able to snuggle with them, feed them. She really talks a great deal about the Reindeer Herding Act. She talks a great deal about the politics behind the reindeer and the herding, the troubles that they have between that the Sami have with the Swedish Parliament. We'll actually be speaking, hopefully, at the Arctic Assembly about the Reindeer Herding Act. And what I found is that the people that I bring with me to the Arctic, they especially love this, because then after we go out and we feed the reindeer, we snuggle, we huggle, we kiss them, they're gorgeous. Then Anna brings us into her tent, and we have a traditional meal, but she actually sings her yol, which could not be more intimate. And we're not allowed to look at her. We need to close our eyes, and just her passion and her love for her family and love for her culture really, really shines through. And that's really an incredible an experience. The other things that we've started doing is going to the Finnish icebreakers and then being aboard on the icebreakers, actually going out into the Baltic Sea and actually floating in the Baltic Sea in survivor suits. So that sort of experience is really getting people, especially women from the States, completely out of their comfort zone. COVID obviously was a disaster for Arctic tourism, and I agree that we need to figure out ways in order to get it going again. And I think short term it's disastrous, but maybe long term it gives us a pause to really think about how we are just exploring the Arctic, and to make sure that we're not doing it in a way that's harming people and harming their environment. It's to make sure that we're not overpopulating or or I feel as if Iceland maybe has become a victim of its own success. And I know that we are, oh, thank you. I'm seeing your message, Vele. And I know that we are, excited about going out there. There are a lot of questions about visas, a lot of questions about what is open now, what's not open. The United States has finally started thinking in terms of sustainable tourism as well. I was very happily involved with a project in Wyoming, which is out in the middle of nowhere. It is the least populated state in all of the states. And we built an ice bar entirely out of ice and snow. So it is the first project that is entirely sustained by the elements on a bison ranch. So instead of dealing with reindeer, and I thought about maybe bringing some reindeer over, but that wouldn't be authentic. Instead of dealing with reindeer, everyone got to experience bison and their history and feeding them and being with them. And then also the traditional snowmobiles, dog sledding. But I think that, again, the figuring out ways to get people further and further north. The world is small and it's becoming smaller. And Mike Strava once said that the Arctic community is a huge community, a small community on a huge landscape. And if we can realize that we are all in this together, that we want to I encourage other tourist people to support the local vendors and to support the smaller businesses, and to support and to be very respectful and mindful, and to leave wherever we are better than when we got there. If it's possible, I don't know if it's okay, Christina, if I do sign off and then sort of try to pull up this PowerPoint, and when I can, I will chime back in.
Absolutely. I just want to ask right now, somebody, I know you do, you have amazing pictures, but I would like to ask right now if anybody have immediate questions for Mary. If we'll lose her due to connection, but it would be great to get some questions right now.
I see your question about the Arctic business sector in Lapland. I'm in touch with a lot of people in Lapland through LinkedIn, and I really appreciate any and all feedback, because I am always looking for new ventures and I can tell you that we have done quite a bit with, as I said, dog sledding overnight out into cabins. I loved being on the icebreaker. It was just phenomenal. Things like the Arctic, I don't know if you know about the Arctic cabin, and eating foods that are just completely sourced from the land. Those are the things, again, the more authentic it is, the more that my adventurers seem to have a more enriched experience. And thank you for your LinkedIn profile. I will definitely get in touch with you. I am hoping to go to Kamchatka this September. That's why I was wondering about those tourist visas. If they are open yet for September, to explore that as well for tourism. Are there any other questions while I pull this up? Can you see this? Christina, can you see this?
No, I can't. I only see you.
If I share my screen and then I pulled it up. I really apologize about this. Let me just see if I can. I'm going to get it on here and then I will bring it back, and then I'll put it in your box, Christina.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mary. Thanks for your presentation. And I really hope we'll get a chance one day to go to Ice Hotel or the Tree Hotel. But Ice Hotel, definitely. Yeah, Ice Hotel is definitely.
Come to Wyoming.
I'll try to do my best. Thanks again, Mary. I now would like Sergey Noskin to speak. Sergey Noskin is president of the Chamber of Commerce, Ямало-Ненецк Autonomous Okrug.
Еще раз добрый день, коллеги. Меня хорошо слышно?
Слышно хорошо, отлично.
Да, я думаю...
Hello, dear colleagues. I will briefly tell you about the tourist potential of Yamal. In Yamal, we have our own advantages. Our territory is in the Arctic zone of West Siberian plain, and we have a very vast territory of almost 800,000 kilometers. We typically have a very long winter and a very short summer. We have a lot of snow. The minimum temperatures fall down to minus 60 degrees. And in summer, it might be as hot as 30 degrees above zero. We have thousands of rivers and lakes. The largest rivers are Ob and Nadim. As for relief, we have tundra and forest tundra. We also have mountains in the west. It stretches for 200 kilometers. Next, please. In Yamal, we developed some 13 kinds of domestic tourism, like fishing, hunting, skiing, educational, recreational, sports, environmental, event, and business tourism. These are the archaeological and ethnocultural sites in Yamal. We have 714 protected monuments of history and culture. We have 9 sites, 17 monuments of history and architecture, 504 monuments of archaeology. 2 of them have been included in the federal list of historical sites, Городище Мангазея and also in Salihar. We have 20 sites of regional significance, 9 of municipal significance, and 685 new tourist sites. Our international tourists are especially interested in our national traditions and customs. And Russian tourists, they are also interested in these issues. And the features of our historical and cultural heritage, they presume that we have a lot of different historical and ethnocultural sites. In 2020, Yamal was visited by 125,000 tourists, and 1,500 were foreign tourists. But like in the whole world, our tourism business suffered from COVID, because in 2019 we had much more tourists. The government of our region attaches great importance to tourism. We provided funding in the amount of 3.5 million rubles to some tourism companies. Also, we have some very famous brands in Yamal. For example, the Santa Claus of Yamal, whose name is Yamal Iri, is also a brand of our region. I have already mentioned that tourist routes related to the indigenous peoples of our region are of great interest. We have Nenets, Hante, and Selkup indigenous people. They live in their traditional tents. You can see them on the next slide. Recently, our Chamber of Commerce received the businessmen from Moscow who were very surprised with a modern lifestyle. Of course, our nomads, they live in settlements, but they also move with their reindeer along the tundra. So thank you for your attention.
Thanks for your presentation. And do we have any questions?
When do we think, oh, so it does say it depends upon country. When do you think that it will be available, we'll be able to get tourist visas again? And how difficult is that process in Russia?
Это ко мне вопрос?
Да, вопрос к вам.
Ну, за всю Россию я не могу ответить.
Well, I cannot speak for the entire Russia, but as soon as the government allows our country to be visited, we are ready to host the tourists. Mary, I could briefly answer this question. Now, each country is imposing its own restrictions related to issuing these tourist visas, depending on the vaccine that you have been vaccinated with. For example, European Union has restrictions for Russian tourists if they have not vaccinated themselves with AstraZeneca or Pfizer vaccine, which have been approved by the European Union. Unfortunately, they have not approved Russian vaccines like Sputnik or Epivac Corona. And that is why Russian tourists cannot visit Schengen area or European Union countries. For example, in Republic of Korea, we can come if we have some medical problems and working visas, but unfortunately they do not allow to travel with tourist visas. So each country has its own approach. And currently the situation in Russia with coronavirus is now quite serious, but Moscow, St. Petersburg, and some other regions, they are now even for Russian citizens imposing some great restrictions. So I think it's now too early to say that Russia is going to restart tourism for foreigners in the nearest future. Currently, only the fans of European football championship have been allowed to come to Russia now for the championship. But we hope that by autumn, the situation will improve. For example, at the end of September in Yakutsk, we have to organize a very large forum on sustainable development. And we will organize it both online and offline. We will invite participants from different countries because, for example, the citizens of Iceland and Finland, if I'm not mistaken, they can come to Russia on business. So the situation is different for each country. If we speak about the United States, then starting May 12, the United States have stopped issuing any visas for Russian citizens. And I believe that Russia had also stopped issuing. But we know that our presidents, Biden and Putin, are meeting today. And we hope that besides some global issues and challenges, economic problems, and problems related to all our common areas, we hope that they will also discuss tourism, because this is what fuels the economy of many countries. So we hope for some good results from the meeting of our president. So briefly, like that. Thank you for your comment.
I think we can move down the list. We still have a lot of speakers. And the next one on the list, I have Anastasia Deika. She's a researcher and she will be talking about her new project. Anastasia, the floor is yours.
Hello to everybody again, and I'm happy to present my project. It's about appearing or disappearing, and I will be talking about the tour Arctic and the tourism from sort of ecological point of view, and my project, the photo project, which I looking now the critiques and comments, is an early stage, so all the opinions are welcome. Okay, let me share the screen. Can you see the
yes, we can see fine. Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's go. So the project is appearing or disappearing, and is constantly updated web archive of the visual materials related to Arctic. And I think it's very important to start this archive now to keep things safe but not secret. The archive is going to be a bridge from the past to the future, and every contribution in the appearing or disappearing project makes better understanding of life of Arctic. And I welcome everybody to contribute with personal visual documentations related to Arctic. I plan to establish a web page with easy navigation and evident understanding of materials. And materials I plan to collect from beginning of the 20th century and up to date, when every tourist, every researcher, or every photographer who has camera are welcome to contribute. It's going to be a voluntary contribution of Arctic with proven date and time track. So what inspired me is these photos of beginning of the century and 90 years later, and what you saw and what things are lost now, what you're not able to see. You see the glacier disappears, their lack of lack of snow, and the person which before dressed super warm now are able to walk in the shorts. And this is sort of map of the web page with the text. Now I'm going to explain in the closer looks. This is the Arctic region which I aim to cover, and is including multicultural research, Canada, Alaska, Russia, Norway, Sweden, and Greenland, US as well, the north part of US. So it's going to be international collaboration. And then when you go and you click, for example, you want to discover how is happening Arctic in the Svalbard now, the Spitsbergen. Then you click on the tag and you may see a closer map of the Svalbard with hashtag where tourists already discovered the place, and we have a photo archive. Then you want to zoom more and you go to the closer look, the capital of the Svalbard, of the Norwegian part, Longyearbyen. And here you go. The archives available for the beginning of the 20th centuries and 21st century. For example, first we want to discover archive of the very early age stage of discover the island. And you see a photo gallery with these archives. There's a heritage of Arctic University of Norway in Tromsø. And you see this, yeah? The glacier Blomstrandbreen, 1928, courtesy of Norwegian Polar Institute. So I plan to cooperate very close with the archive institution in the cultural researches. 1928, yeah, you see how it looks those time. And then you see, you have archive for this place of 2000. And you go the courtesy of another Norwegian photographer, and you see exactly the same photo, the same place. And now you see the difference. The place absolutely changed in less than 100 years. And then you see the dramatic change in the Arctic region. So this is going to be a global research, which I hope to bring tourists from another purpose to discover Arctic. How fragile is the place and how important is to be delicate when you explore the Arctic, and probably are going to be the last tourist, the last person who have a chance to see the ice there. Because now the map of the greening and the change of local people lifestyle, the reindeer culture is getting less and less. And so far is in the, as I say, is in the part of the research, and my contribution is everyone today has a story, as everybody has a mobile phone, and the photography is now available worldwide. So the world is going to be an archive very soon. I mean, the world of Arctic. And I invite people whose heart is melting together with the Arctic ice to share evidence of the global climate change, to contribute for the future generation about what would probably be lost very soon. Not many people can speak in the specific way, but everybody can understand the message of the visual art. At the present research step of appearing or disappeared, project is actively looking for interested partners from art, history, and the commercial area, as well as I said, advice, critiques, and suggestions for faster development. And I believe now in the time of pandemic, when actually people travel much more online and planning the trips for the future, is very important now to concentrate more on discovering the place from the deeper point of view, to be more responsible tourists. And then with this, I guess is for me as a researcher, it's time to develop more time for the investigating the archive, and for tourists to give the opportunity to learn another Arctic, not just a modern, beautiful National Geography postcards, but the real archives, the real photography of the local people, the real photography of people who've been there recently, and what we have as a cultural heritage. So I propose a tourism as a investigation of the local awareness of the global warming. Question, suggestion? If it's important, I may give a brief presentation in Russian, a brief introduction, or suggestion for the local authorities for cooperation, things like this.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Do we have any questions?
Ну, у меня не вопрос, а предложение. Очень интересный
So
проект.
this is not a question, I have a proposal. This is a most interesting project, and I have written to Anastasia already that the Northern Forum has a wonderful partner, the Arctic Portal from Iceland, directed by Haldur Johansson, and we would be very glad to cooperate, to involve our regions, because we have many photographers in our regions, and we can also get connected with people from local archives, and I think we will be able to find historical photos because and contemporary photographs could picture the same places. So people like this project like then and now. So people post pictures of them being children and then as adults. So this is a very good idea, and we are ready to provide any support. Yes, this is exactly what I have been working in the Barents region. And I was really surprised how enthusiastic people were there and how many pictures people sent, and they also shared their archives.
Да, абсолютно уверен. Всем будет приятно увидеть свои фотографии.
Yes, I am sure that people would be glad to see their pictures on an international information portal. I think that this could be also interesting for tourism agencies as an advertisement of their routes.
In these remote areas can be interested in collaborations too, to promote these places from the eyes of the real tourists. A true photos of what you see, how it change, what the company provide, what is the service, how close you can be to the reindeers, because it's always the difference what you see in the tourist catalogs and what 1,000 of tourists see. So I'm very open to collaborate with the tourist agency and people who are interested to promote tourism.
That's great. Anastasia, if you can send us the copy of your presentation, we can send it to all of the participants of this call, and maybe add your contact information on the last slide so they can connect with you if they would like collaborate on the project, or pass the word to their colleagues to collaborate with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. Maybe we'll discuss it more at the end, but right now, the next one on our agenda is Mark Dudley. He's the Regional Director for North America, Inter-Pacific Aviation and Marketing.
Hello, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Christina, and thank you, Vladimir, especially for getting up at 2 in the morning to participate and host this event. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I'd like to provide a brief update on the seasonal air service between Alaska and the Russian Far East that we operate in partnership with Yakutia Airlines, and speak a little about the role of air transportation in development of tourism to the Russian Arctic. A lot of these wonderful places are inaccessible without aviation. Our company, Inter-Pacific Aviation, inaugurated service on the route in 2009. We finance the service as well as manage all the operations, sales, and marketing while our partner carrier operates the aircraft. We fly seasonally, weekly for about 8 to 10 weeks every summer. The service fills a small niche market and is rather expensive for us to operate, and it's always a challenge to reach the critical load factor we need to attain profitability. Regretfully, we had to suspend the service last year, 2020, and this year. As you can imagine, it was triggered by COVID-19. But even now, and in the months to come, when the situation seems to be gradually improving, the US and Russia still aren't issuing routine visas to each other's citizens, and that's a big, important topic, and I appreciate Vladimir's input on the topic. Let's hope that Putin and Biden help us on this issue in time, at least for next summer, if not before. We're optimistic that these issues will be resolved, and we're looking forward to resuming the service next year, and I'll be showing our proposed schedule at the end of my presentation. Since 2012, we've been working with Yakutia Airlines. It's a very professional carrier and a pleasure to work with. And together we established the Sakha, Yakutia, Kamchatka, Alaska route, which connects 3 important Arctic regions. And if regional governments are interested, we could easily add 2 more regions to the network, Magadan Oblast and Chukhotka Autonomous Okrug. I get many inquiries about travel between Anchorage and the Russian cities of Magadan and Anadyr, but there is nowhere near enough demand to justify direct service. Pardon me, I have to turn that off. But there is an easy solution. There already exist weekly domestic government subsidized flights between Magadan and Petropavlovsk and Anadyr and Petropavlovsk. And if regional officials were to communicate with each other and synchronize these government subsidized flights with our Anchorage Petropavlovsk flights, travelers of all kinds, families, cruise ship passengers, and others could readily get to where they want to go in just a few hours with convenient short connection at Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky. By the way, the construction of Kamchatka's new airport terminal at Petropavlovsk is commencing this year and is scheduled to be completed by the summer of 2023. We carry some families and a few business people and scientists, but the majority of our passengers are tourists traveling from the US to Russia. We also carry some European tourists eastbound who are traveling on around the world trips. These tour operators are only able to incorporate the Russian Arctic into their trips thanks to this air service. Here are a few of the operators that we serve. These travelers are interested in culture, the impact of climate change on Arctic environments, in natural beauty, as well as in fishing and hunting. We heavily promote travel between the regions via advertisements, photo contests, and participation in trade shows. Unfortunately, Russia has done little to promote itself in North America to North American travelers. I'd very much love to see the Russian Far East represented at US and Canadian travel shows. The Russian Far East and the Arctic of the Russian Far East is a wonderful area, but virtually unknown to Westerners as a tourist destination. The Yakutia Airlines flights enable conferences, exchanges, and other events to attract more attendees. A few of these are listed here. We're grateful to Derek at the Council for US-Russia Relations for scheduling the RAP meetings when feasible during our period of flight operations. The World Eskimo Indian Olympics take place in Fairbanks, Alaska during the summer. This event welcomes Indigenous athletes from around the world, but thus far, few Russian athletes have participated. We encourage any organizations planning events, perhaps the Northern Forum, perhaps somebody with tourist activities involved, to synchronize them with these flights in order to optimize access. And of course, it helps us to get a few more passengers. We can offer preferential rates to event organizers. Among travelers, there's great interest in the Arctic in general and the Russian Arctic in particular. There's no better way to visit the region than via expeditionary cruise ship. Areas of particular interest to cruise passengers are Franz Josef Land, Kamchatka, Chukotka, and Wrangel Island. The cruise industry is well established in Europe and Alaska, and the necessary support infrastructure is in place. But in Russia, there is still a long way to go. Here I've listed a few of the cruise lines that I know of offhand that are particularly interested in the Russian Arctic. Cruise lines not only contribute to local economies, they often charter Russian ships for their operations. Here's some comments I received from cruise lines about the challenges of operating in Russia. This is just an informal poll that I conducted over the past few days. It's not an exhaustive list and it's not conducted scientifically, but it does provide a bit of an overview. Lack of air service, this was at the top of the list. Cruise lines need to move travelers to places like Pivik, Tiksi, and Anadyr, and connect from major hub, and the connections from major hubs like Tokyo, Peking, Beijing is never very convenient. Ground transportation issues. Small villages in the Arctic understandably don't have fleets of buses to carry 80 to 140 passengers at a time for shore excursions. But with time, better accommodations perhaps can be made. Too much paperwork. If a cruise passenger visits shore for even a few hours, even if it is to connect to an international flight, a visa is required. This process is much simpler in other regions that these cruise lines operate. It's a big expense and a lot of hassle. If Russia wishes to develop this potentially important and profitable sector of the economy, I suggest they establish a dialogue with cruise lines and work to address their operational concerns. And one last topic, general aviation. In Alaska, small aviation plays a vital role in the economy, including the tourism sector. Small planes like the 4-seat Cessna can carry hunters. This is Cessna 172 pictured here. Can carry hunters, hikers, and fishermen to remote areas, perform flight seeing tours, and act as air ambulances. In Russia, the small aviation sector suffered significantly after 2091, and this has negatively impacted the development of Arctic regions. It is possible for an entrepreneur to acquire a small plane and perform commercial activities, but the cost, onerous regulations, and lack of suitable planes makes it very challenging. The good news is that these issues are now being discussed at the highest levels of the Russian government, and thanks to organizations like the Small Aviation Associations of Sakha-Yakutia and Russia. Following are some areas where changes have taken place or where we see significant lobbying and expect to see changes coming in the months and years to come. The Ulan-Ude aircraft factory is developing an aircraft called the Baikal that will fill the niche left by the AN-2 biplane. It's not in mass production at this time. I'll show a picture of that in a minute. Leasing companies are being encouraged to include small aircraft in their inventories and adapt leasing methods for general aviation. Expanded range of commercial activities. Only recently have small aircraft and small airlines been allowed to transport cargo, and authorization to transport passengers for money is expected in March of 2022. Regulatory reform, federal aviation regulations need to be updated in order to support small aviation. Financial and economic reform. It's been recommended to establish lines of credit for purchasing aircraft, reduce airport fees, eliminate duty on imported aircraft, reduce or eliminate fees on aviation fuel. There's a long list of things like this that are being worked on. Infrastructure. A lot of small airports were built during the Soviet period, but they're in pretty bad shape now. But the effort now is to bring those up to operational standards and also to create technical centers for general aviation in northeastern Russia. And pilot training. There are efforts to simplify the certification process for training centers. And a very interesting recent recommendation to the government of Yakutia is to promote training of pilots, mechanics, and dispatchers at the University of Alaska. So there's much potential for cooperation between the US and Russia as this sector develops in the coming years, and if political circumstances allow. Here's a picture of that Baikal that's in development. Once again, this is the aircraft that Russia is developing to replace the AN-22. And this is our tentative schedule for next year. We plan to operate weeklies on Mondays, July 11th till August 29th. Though we'll extend the service if there's demand, and there does seem to be a lot of pent-up interest. There's my contact email if anyone has any questions, or feel free to ask me today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mark, for your presentation. Do we have questions for Mark at this time, at this moment?
I can just say that I can just reiterate that there is so much interest in visiting Arctic Russia. And I have people ask me about that all the time. I feel as if Scandinavia is really well saturated, and because it's accessible and because of you know, it's we don't need a visa to get into it. But I think that if we can streamline the process of visas and the paperwork, as Mark spoke about, I think that Arctic Russia could really enjoy a robust and wonderful Arctic tourism. And I'd love to I can't wait to bring people. So that's just my one comment. So very excited.
Можно два слова сказать?
Да, конечно.
Дмитрий Быстров, я тут не мог подключиться, запутался в компьютерах на работе через домашний через работу. В общем, сейчас все в порядке. Ну, я хочу просто...
Just a couple of words. I would like to extend my great gratitude to Mark Dudley because it has been a most strategic presentation. I am a former employee of the federal ministry, so I feel like writing reports to the government because a number of measures suggested by Mark, they are absolutely solvable. These matters of synchronizing flights and some questions with paperwork and red tape can be solved, and you can do everything. It's great that Russia has been paying a lot of attention to the inbound tourism because it stimulates the local economy, and this is also very relevant.
За абсолютно тоже блестящее выступление. Я уверен, что вот мои коллеги в северных торгово-промышленных палатах на карандаш взяли.
And I would like to thank Mary
творческий подход
because the creative approach
не хочу сказать ни на чем, но
gives an opportunity to make money in the Arctic.
вот то, что Мэри рассказала,
So you just
что
need to switch on your imagination.
я уверен,
And
что всё
again,
у нас получится.
going back to Mark's presentation, I'm sure that we will be able to put forward, to move forward in this direction. And I would like to thank Vladimir for the review of the visa issues. Well, I wanted to add something, but Vladimir was most informative. So I hope that we will return to the situation when to get an American visa will be as easy as it used to be. It was one of the easiest visas to get for Russian citizens. So this is an issue to be solved by our politicians, and the politicians from the both sides claim that the population of the both countries should not suffer. So I hope that we will return to the previous situation. Well, the hardest challenge now is the pandemic, and Vladimir was right saying that all the Russian citizens can get vaccinated. In the morning, I got vaccinated myself. So it's a new vaccine. So I have the certificate of the vaccine, but I really doubt that if I will get any visa. But my foreign friends say that yes, you have only 10% of the population vaccinated, so yes, you are going to have problems with getting visas. So all these issues are going to complicate our lives for a long time. And also, Mark mentioned when Mark mentioned the benefits of aviation for tourism, it reminded me of my working in Canada, and I was actually surprised that Canada is unknown for for tourists from other countries of the world, but the United States, and also to the limited extent, because, for example, in Quebec, for example, at Tourist Information Center, people speak only French. And though in Canada you have all the infrastructure, but somehow they don't advertise their own country, let alone the Canadian Arctic. So the same situation in Russia, plus the lack of infrastructure.
Ну, я думаю, поэтому мы в системе, я все
But we
работают.
can, yes, we can improve our infrastructure, and we can eliminate the Russian red tape. And so I work for the Russian Chamber of Commerce, and we are going to work at solving at least some minor questions. And I have really admired all the presentation. Ah, yes, Anastasia has made also a very interesting presentation. So I'll better stop here. I'm just very emotional, and I'm very glad to see our American colleagues. Because in the Chamber of Commerce, I am responsible for cooperation with all Arctic countries. But as for our American friends, colleagues, I see them only online.
Вот. Спасибо. Всё, я умолкаю.
Thank you.
Спасибо большое, Дмитрий.
Thank you, Dmitry.
Не ограничиваем во времени никого.
So we don't limit anyone in time. So because we actually designed this meeting as a platform for discussions. Of course, it would be nice to sit in the same room for a couple of days and to discuss everything thoroughly. And I'm very grateful to Mark Dudley for such a comprehensive presentation, because the issues you have mentioned, they are very critical, especially the paperwork issues. And in the Arctic zone of Yakutia, we have had real improvements in terms of the border zone. So the coastal line is not the borderline anymore. So only the islands in the Arctic have remained the border zone. And but the coastal areas, they are now more open. So it reduces the paperwork several times. So if foreign tourists are not going to visit the Arctic islands, they don't need like these extra permissions. As for the event tourism, yes, it's an interesting idea, and in autumn we are going to work with our tourist companies and ask them to offer interesting and not expensive tours for the participants of our Congress. As for the small aviation, yes, very good news from Ulan-Ude, and I think it's time Buryatia becomes the Northern Forum member. So our scientists, they are not waiting for the for Baikal becoming serially produced. So, for example, two of our researchers, they have built their own plane for two people only. So they have covered the entire territory of Yakutia, and now they are in Chukotka.
Чтобы границы открылись. Ну и по круизным делам, конечно, нам бы хотелось, чтобы так как вот материковая зона уже не погранзона, только острова.
Everyone wants the area, the Arctic, to become open. So since the coastal area is not the borderline anymore, so the cruise ships can stop by river ports along the Arctic coast. So we are all waiting for the laws on the federal territory. So we are waiting for the amendments in the legislation, and we also would like to see if there will be any important legislative changes in other countries. So that's why we need to talk more so that we could detect these changes quickly.
В соответствии с новым законодательством, но тем не менее, если мы на таких мероприятиях будем много говорить,
so the Northern Forum,
это будет хороший вклад в общее наше дело. Ну, давайте послушаем еще презентации.
I think if we discuss all these issues, we will have some useful recommendations. I just wanted to ask Dmitry, do you have the Mark's contacts? because Ratop actually, the Northern Forum cannot make these proposals to the federal government, but Ratop can make these proposals to the both Russian and American government. Because Ratop is going to have its meeting in the late July. So you can find this information on our site. Dmitry mentioned that many of these challenges are solvable, but we need some competent people to make some specific proposals. And maybe you and Mark or with other people from here could develop such recommendations in advance so that they be heard at the Ratop's meeting. Yes, of course, Derek, you know, I'm sure that the American-Russian business cooperation potential is huge. And if there weren't any obstacles from the political issues, we could do so much. So let's solve these issues, let's exchange information, and as the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we can make proposals to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to the Ministry of Economy. And I totally agree that to do that, and actually the federal government's attitude now is that we need to develop business with the United States. And especially in terms of tourism, no one would. Yes, and Ratop is the very organization to make these proposals.
Это отличная площадка для улучшения отношений между двумя вот великими странами. Хотел бы добавить.
It's the best platform to improve relations between our countries. You have Mark's contacts, and I think we need to talk directly to him, because many of the things he said were genius.
И для всех, кто вновь подсоединился, был вопрос, будет ли запись нашего мероприятия. Да, запись идет, и на YouTube-канале Северного форума он будет сегодня выложен, то есть он появится полностью. И на русском отдельно, на английском отдельно. Спасибо.
That's great. I'm so excited to hear all of those comments and questions and a live discussion like this of such an important topic and important and true to my heart. Living in Alaska and seeing over 20 years Alaska trying to work with Chukotka and Kamchatka and trying to develop as much as possible of Arctic tourism. And having so many difficulties, especially lately with aviation connection, it's just like unexplainable for Alaska to have a problem like this. Alaska is #1 for small aviation in the whole world. It has like 256 airports and so many small airplanes. I think last time, about 5 years ago, it was about 12,000 small airplanes and 10,000 push pilots. This is such a big potential, and Chukotka always wanted to work with Alaska on developing an Arctic tourism. I was born and raised in Pivek, Chukotka, and it's very important for me to see this link being developed, not just for the tourism, but for connecting people, indigenous people of both regions, who used to have that connection through Bering Air, flying from Nome. And then at some point, Mavial was flying to Magadan. We all know that. And then Yakutia airline finally started flying. But now everything was put on hold. So I'm very much hoping that some kind of Arctic tourism between US and Russia will start developing, picking up soon. It doesn't matter which region it will be. Well, we need all regions to work together anyways. So we'll talk, hopefully we'll talk more about this specific presentation at the end, but we have 2 more speakers. And the next one on our agenda is Olga Lapina. She's a leading consultant of the Entrepreneurship and Tourism Development Division of the Economic Development Directorate of the Department of Finance and Economy, Nenets Autonomous Okrug. Olga, so the floor is yours. Olga, can you hear us? Okay, maybe she has technical difficulties. I'm not sure. She hasn't texted me. We can go to the next speaker on our agenda and maybe come back to Olga after this. So the next speaker I have is Vera Kolosova. She is the head of the Creative Souvenir Center, Yugorskaya Collection.
Доброго времени суток, дорогие друзья.
Hello, dear friends. I greet you from Yugra. Today, I would like to briefly tell you about our new project. It's a multifunctional creative center, Yugorskaya Collection. So what is it and how it works? Now I will share my screen. Yugorskaya Collection is a multifunctional creative resource center, is a new project of a publishing house, the News of Yugra. The project was born 2 years ago, but we just weren't able to launch it. We didn't have possibilities to launch it. But anyway, we were able to start the project. So it's a set of projects aimed at opening the potential of national cultures in the topical art and industrial creative industry. So this is a sort of mini factory with its own infrastructure and media environment, a small designer's bureau, art salon, and an open platform for communication. So that's what it looks like now. You have some visitors. This space is not very big. We can host some 50, 60 people at one time. This is our neighbor, Focus Media Center, from where I'm speaking now. So how it works? We have a small infrastructure. These are our areas of activity. They include media art, like installations, video content, audio companies, then folk creative works, You know, we have a lot of indigenous people in Yugra. They are Hanты, Mansi, and Nenцы. We also have Komi and Russians. Besides, we have the area of printing industry and packing. We have a resource base of suppliers. Then the next one is digital industry. It's a publishing house that publish newspapers, magazines, and books, and we engage all these resources. And then the next one is design. So it's like an open designer bureau that works not only in Yugra, but also as an outsourced bureau in Russia. So here you can see our space. We constantly improve it. So the furniture is quite interesting here. On the left, you can see this oblast, a traditional Hanty board. Then we used chum, the traditional tent of Hanty and Mansi. So there is like a combination, a mix of Russian products and then indigenous people's products. Also, we organize masterclasses for children. So what are the goals of our project? Well, we wanted to establish a large creative center that could bring together different masters, not only some folk art producers. In Yugra, the domestic tourism is quite well developed. The city of Khanty-Mansiysk, our capital, receives a lot of visitors. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we now have less, but we are still positive, and we still welcome our tourists. Also, Yugra is rich in wild plants, and also so the gathering and sale of these wild herbs and plants is now very active. And our designers, they help to develop packing for these berries and herbs that people gather. Also, our activities aim at improving the quality of our products, because some of our contributors, they live in very remote areas, and for them this creative work is the only source of income. And in the remote areas, they have no opportunities for selling their products. But in our center, we can sell their crafts. And we try to be like good friends to them and to help them with some technical issues. We involve our designers and artists for designing good packings. We have a big professional team. I'm the leader of our project, but our director general and initiator is Svetlana Burlutska. The owner of our center is also this publishing house, The News of Yugra. We have a great team of designers, media managers, PR specialists, and residents. We have professional journalists, photographers, and designers. And as for the craftsmen, we have been working for more than 2 years with them. But when we have officially launched our project, it became easier for us to communicate with the local authorities. Usually one project involves some 20-30 craftsmen. When they bring their products to our center, we help them with packaging. We translate the description of their products in different languages and help them to distribute them. Also, we have some state support. In Yugra in 2004, they adopted a special law on supporting folk craftsmen in Khanty-Mansiysk. I have been working in this area for more than 12 years now, and I can say that back in Soviet Union, this was a very successful industry. But unfortunately, after the collapse of Soviet Union, it was lost, and now we have to like restart and revitalize this industry. And we have to look for the new artists and new craftsmen. Also, we try to engage youth, especially when we are supported by the local authorities. We always engage young artists, because in Khanty-Mansiysk we have a center for the talented youth, and so we cooperate with them. So here you can see like before and after. Our specialists call it a revitalization model. We have renovated this building of the publishing house. The building is quite unusual in terms of its design. So this is the entrance to the publishing house, where they have used some modern materials. One of the advantages of Yugorska collection is that it is located in the center, in the downtown of our city. And on the map, you can see that our center is in the downtown. So it's easy for the people to come to our place, and the infrastructure around our center is very well developed. As for this model of revitalization, we now have great plans for the continuation of our project. So our plans for 21 the years 2021-2022 are quite ample. We want to make an art object from the territory of our cluster for the tourists and for the residents of our city. We will use some small architecture forms. We have a lot of ideas. We will use some landscape design, and we would like to add a floor because we lack space, a lot of plants, and we need more space. Here you can see one of the windows and the view from our window. It's green, and in winter it's white, of course, with snow. As for the production cycle, you can see we have different workshops, like souvenir workshop, then the zone for designers, etc. This is our coffee shop. We have a great coffee. Come visit us and drink our coffee. This is our media center focus. We have some very latest equipment here and a recording booth, and all young bloggers, they come to study here. They like it because we have a lot of different interesting lectures and workshops. Also, I wish to say, as long as we have Yugra State University, we involve a lot of students. This is a publishing workshop. And so some guys from our analytical department, they have conducted SWOT analysis. We don't fully agree with the results of their analysis. We have good premises and good material and technical base. We have a great reputation. What are our opportunities is that we are a big holding and we have several subsidiaries in Nizhnevartovsk and in Surgut. And we have a well-developed logistics because our magazines and newspapers are read in our district. As for the weaknesses, they have said that we have not enough space. And yes, I have mentioned that we do really lack space. And we also would like to launch a co-working center. It would be great because we could get more high quality products without losing the uniqueness of traditional art. And as for the threats, is that if we develop some outside creative platforms in Yugra, we will have more competition. But we don't think that competition is something bad. It's vice versa, some sort of motivation for us to work better. So I'm coming to the conclusion now. If you have any questions, we love guests. So if you have a chance to come to Yugra, we would be very glad to see you.
Thank you very much for your presentation and for the invitation to visit Khanty-Mansiysk. I would like to know if we have any specific questions to the speaker right now. And I also wanted to make a note to Vladimir that I see Olga had to leave the call, so I don't think she will be able to make the presentation. We can just open the floor for any questions right now and have a discussion. So you can ask questions to any speaker and just have a dialogue.
Да, Кристина, Ненецкий округ нам сегодня написал, что они не смогут выступить с докладом, к сожалению. Но, конечно, это очень жаль. Я очень хотел послушать директора.
Yes, Nenets Autonomous Okrug said that they wouldn't be able to join the call today because I wanted to hear from them. But Vera's presentation about the creative industry was very interesting. Khanty-Mansiysk Autonomous Okrug initiated the establishment of the Creative Industry Northern Forum Working Group. And I think that this project is going to become one of the major projects of this working group. I think that Vera has already met with Daryana Maximova, my deputy. She is now in Khanty-Mansiysk, and you can discuss all these topics. I was also surprised to see that competition was mentioned as a threat in this SWOT analysis. But this is strange. Competition is always very good. So we wish you great success. And dear colleagues, if anybody wants to speak or to share some experience about your project, the floor is yours. It's an open microphone.
From our friends from Finland and maybe Norway as well. Just a couple of words.
Было бы отлично.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much for all the great presentations, what I have just seen and heard. And I haven't prepared any presentation, so that's why I send a few links to the chat so that you can see information about the business, about the Arctic tourism and how important the business is in Finnish Lapland as well. There were many similarities that I could see, and I would love to be a part again when you meet again, and perhaps then I could present something that you could have a look as well. But it's been very interesting, so thank you very much, and it was great to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Great, thank you. We're really glad you can be here, take a part of this meeting. Do we have any questions, comments from anybody? From Norway would be great.
Yes, thank you very much. And I also want to express my happiness about being connected to all of you in the Arctic. I have been, I feel strongly connected, and I still have the vision that the Arctic should be the region of peace and environmental cooperation and inspiration, and should be also more easy, as I mentioned many times before, to reach all the agreed sustainable development goals. And I would like to see in the future meetings of such art more concrete examples how tourism is related to the one or the other of the 17 SDGs. I think we can be much more concrete about that issue. So let's work all together forward to make the Arctic the region which reaches all the SDGs first in the world. And the Northern Forum plays a major role in this.
That's great. You actually reminded me of something I thought before when we were talking about making an impact on changing the regulations right now, visas, everything, the challenges, making an impact on that on federal level. From our participants from different agencies, specifically from Chamber of Commerce from different regions. But also the thought I have is doing it through Northern Forum at the Arctic Council platform, because of Northern Forum role in the Arctic Council right now, and the Russian chairmanship in the Arctic Council can help us to support the Arctic tourism and make an impact on different challenges we have right now.
Да, Кристина, я бы здесь хотел добавить, да, Северный форум.
Thank you, Christine. I would like to add that yes, the Northern Forum has become a very good partner and observer in the Arctic Council. And under the Russian chairmanship, in the Arctic Council, the Northern Forum has been charged to host two major events. First is the Arctic Resilience Forum in 2022, and it has a special section on the Arctic tourism. And the forum I have already mentioned, which is going to take place on September 27-30 in Yakutsk, the third Northern Sustainable Development Forum. So along with Peter Tokash, we are going to hold the second roundtable on tourism, and we are inviting everyone. So Dmitry Bystrov from the Russian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, they are organizing the first Congress of Chambers of Commerce in Syktyvkar on 23-25 November this year. And this conference, again, people are definitely going to discuss the Arctic tourism because many businessmen are engaged in this sphere. So these are just a few events where the Arctic tourism can be discussed. And also, Derek mentioned that next month
на которой вы все должны, прямо должны принять участие. Северный форум обязательно выступит со своей презентацией, обязательно примет
And of
участие.
course, Northern Forum will take place there as well, and we will ask our members to talk at the meeting, because the more we talk at meetings like this, the higher is the chance of the regional and national governments listen and hear us and make some decisions for the benefits of the world. So all our presentations should reach out to the people. Ratur in July, forum in September, in November, and then in November the meeting in Syktyvkar, Arctic the territory of the dialogue in St. Petersburg in December. So all these platforms should be used to discuss the topics that we are interested in. And today we are talking about the Arctic tourism, and so we must keep talking about this. So just bother everyone. And so then it's going to become the hot topic of the international agenda. And so then people will start thinking about what we can do. So what we can plan now? Yes, it is the pandemic now and we cannot go, but we can prepare for the borders to be open. And so Vera was talking about how they are working on improving the infrastructure. And so this is very good. So this work should be done in every region, not only in Russia, but in all other countries, in Scandinavia, in North America, in Asia. This is a very good topic for investors to invest money in the development of tourist infrastructure. Just some small projects like campings, or some small tourist bases, or maybe even design of computer games like quests along the Arctic regions. Find something, or we have many talented people in IT industry, and so many of the regions have IT clusters. In Yakutia, it's a very popular topic. and we are among world leaders in producing computer games. Yes, basically they have some, they develop some shooter games, but go for costs. And yes, we need to talk about crafts, about creative industries. We need to teach our children to make things, to make crafts, and we need to start making our own souvenirs, because everywhere you go, we have souvenirs made in China, but we need to have local souvenirs, and tourists will be attracted. And yes, as Vera said, selling online is one of the steps to do. The Ministry of the Arctic Development of Russia have designed the portal on Arctic tourism. So they have portal. So maybe we need to have some international portal like this. Halder is not with us today, unfortunately, but I think we must think about this as well. So there are many things that we can do while we are staying at home. So this is only the short list of things. It is not complete. And so the result of this, the purpose of this meeting to wake up our brains and to look for other ways of development. And instead of sitting and just thinking, oh, we are going bankrupt, we need to think.
Absolutely.
I would like just to add a couple of words to what Vladimir was saying. This is exactly what I talked to Mary Gibbons prior this call when I was talking to her about presenting during this meeting, is using every challenge or every problem you have in your life as an opportunity for better future. That's the key to anything happening in the world, right? So when pandemic happened, what we started doing is we started trying to find the new ways for using anything we never used before, or doing something we never did before. We started traveling around the country, around the region, exploring the region. That's what I did. I know with my family in Alaska last year, living here for so many years and just being locked here for some time. We were lucky here because of a huge territory, of course, so we could travel around Alaska and see the new places we never saw before. But I want to add to the previous presentations when we were talking about the Arctic tourism infrastructure, undeveloped infrastructure compared to so many Scandinavian countries like Iceland, like Norway and Finland and others. Alaska infrastructure, US Arctic infrastructure is so undeveloped. You would not believe it how it is undeveloped, even compared to the most remote locations of the Russian Arctic. So we can use that opportunity of sitting home, do nothing like you said, or we can use that opportunity for developing something for the better future. So when everything is opened up, or when we start getting visas, when we start getting the demand, we will be ready for this. We could do as much more at that time if we are more prepared now, if we are working more on the things and getting ready for all of that right now. So I think this topic is being so important for us right now. And I would like us to continue speaking on this specific topic. But maybe next time we will talk about the tourism infrastructure development and investments opportunities. Because at the previous meetings, we talked a lot about made in the Arctic product. So we need something made in the Arctic for us to develop the tourism infrastructure and bring the investments and investors here to the Arctic. So that's my proposal for the future, for the next meeting. That's what I mean.
У меня маленький комментарий, если можно. Кристина затронула очень интересную тему.
Christina has mentioned a very interesting topic of tourist infrastructure. In the past, I was astonished by the United States because this is the country where you don't have to think about where you will sleep when you travel, where you can eat when you travel, because it was 10 years ago, but the motels were very cheap and you could eat also very cheaply if you compare it to Canada, not even Europe. I'm not sure about how the situation is in Alaska with some small hotels and motels. It would be very interesting to hear about it. Because in Canada, I was again astonished when I traveled with my daughter to Huron Lake and she wanted to swim. It's a fantastic lake, an emerald color water and pine trees. And it took us 3 hours to find somewhere to sleep. No vacancies were everywhere. So I asked the Canadians about the situation, and they said that the weather in that region was good only for 3 months in a year. So it was not profitable for them to have good infrastructure all year round. For example, at the Lake Superior, the tourist season is only 1 month. So on the shores of the Lake Superior, it's almost impossible to find somewhere to live. So it would be very interesting for me to learn how this topic is tackled in Alaska. I remember that Norwegians and Americans were very interested in discussing this topic because they were asking, Norwegians, they were asking about these large cruise companies. And Americans from Alaska, they were interested about in the development of small boats. So this exchange of practices in terms of infrastructure is very valuable. And I have a very stupid proposal for our colleagues from Yugorskaya collection. I think that it would be great if they could show some domestic animals to the tourists, like some goats. Mary Gibbons was talking about this snow and ice castle and the reindeer. It would be very creative. So I think that our colleagues from Khanty-Mansiysk, they could also use some domestic animals. And how can we make money? Some 10 years ago, when we were traveling in Scotland, I was surprised to see that in these islands, we saw some girls making soap, and it was named Highland soap. of different colors and scents. So they were making money from nothing, basically. So it costs £5, and each tourist bought this. So it was very popular with the tourists. So then I went to Finland. My daughter said Finns are very creative people. I think that they have soap from lingonberry or from moss or from some pine cones. And I went to not to Helsinki, but to some rural areas, and they didn't have any soap, like handmade soap. And I told them about this Scottish experience, and they said that this was a great idea because you didn't have to invest almost any money, but you can make quite a lot of money. So there are a lot of similar ideas. Oh, I can see my good old friend Halder from Iceland joining us. And also Vladimir mentioned Syktyvkar conference. We call it the Conference of Chambers of Commerce and Business Associations. But of course, it doesn't mean that it will bring together only chambers of commerce and business associations. We cordially welcome all businesses. We will be very glad to welcome our American colleagues. We will be happy to see Christina and Mark and Derek and Mary. If something goes wrong because of the pandemic, then we will be glad to see you online. Because I want this event to be a little bit different from it is usually. Because when we come together in Murmansk, people say there is nobody from Canada, there is nobody from Alaska. This is again a meeting of Russia and Scandinavia, and where are our colleagues from North America? So I hope that our North American friends will come to Syktyvkar or join us online. I understand that it's not very easy to travel to Syktyvkar from Alaska, but it will be very open for business, and we will try to arrange some exchange of experiences. Because after each event organized by the Northern Forum, I have a lot of different ideas. And if Irina Maximova can hear us, it would be great if she could say something, because she's a president of two tourist companies in terms of tourism and visa issues. But yes, we have this pandemic, but my friends from America and from Canada, they somehow travel to Russia. So we also have some Norwegians. They say that they were able to get visas because they visit an exhibition. So Irina, if you hear me, maybe you could comment something from the point of view of tourism and visa support.
Спасибо, я умолкаю.
Как говорится, было бы желание, да? Все возможно.
So everything is possible. Hello again.
Yes, I'm greeting everyone.
I would
and
like to use
using
this opportunity
to thank
for taking
for this
part in this
opportunity
event. This is quite an
to
event
participate in
indeed.
this meeting.
It's
So the topic is very interesting, and I hope that it will be discussed more because more and more people are getting interested in cruises and some unconventional routes. So we must offer tools like this. As for the visa issues, yes. So it is quite difficult now. And Dmitry was right saying that in a specific case, you can find some solutions. And we also hope that in the near future, maybe in July, August, we are going to have simplified procedures. And so the cooperation is going to continue. And thank you very much. And I will definitely participate in discussions on the topic. So thank you for, in my turn, I would like to say that if we decide today or later to continue discussing this topic and talking about infrastructure and developing infrastructure for the Arctic tourism, I will definitely, I will try to make sure that some American partners, especially Arctic corporations, I know that at least two corporations which are involved in the Arctic tourism. So yes, last year naturally only American residents visited us, but today the demand is so great that all the campings, all the motels and parking lots, all the facilities like cabins, everything, especially for July and August, they have been sold out in March. So if you decide to go to Alaska for a fishing tour, so like 0% or -1% that you will be able to come here and to find an accommodation. So there is great interest in tourism and for developing tourism. But the infrastructure is only around Anchorage, around Fairbanks, Saldona, Sitka, or other Juneau, Seward. But the remote areas of Alaska, inhabited by the indigenous people, where the indigenous corporation exists, there is no infrastructure. So maximum a couple of hotels, and not in all places, like in Nome or Barrow, with huge tourism potential. And many Northern Forum members went to Barrow, and we saw many we saw great potential, and we talked about probably ice hotels and reindeer tours. So it's not that expensive. You just need to start doing this. So that's why I actually insist to continue the discussion on this topic. So Vladimir, what do you think? So yes, this topic is very interesting. Peter has written that the infrastructure development is not that important for tourism. It's more important to maintain pristine nature. But to go to the Arctic, to visit the Arctic, you still need some hotel infrastructure, at least in the hubs. You need some cafes and you need infrastructure. And also the Arctic regions, the municipalities, they don't have their own funds to develop infrastructure like this, or small tourism businesses on site. Well, they build something, but they cannot reach the desired level. So we need investors. And I remember Derek talking about the investments earlier, that investors are not going to be attracted by ideas. They need like the full packages, the projects. Yes, so that's why when talking to the local companies, while you during the pandemic, do analytics, do some marketing researches, then you will be able for the opening of the borders. So we need to discuss these topics. So let's plan our activities. So at Ratop meeting in July, they are going to discuss the Arctic tourism. So so today is 16th or 17th of July. So maybe in mid July,
Да, можно 14, 15, 13, 14, 15 июля, можно в середину июля.
So yes, we can meet on July 13, 14, 15. And then to discuss this topic more globally between the two countries at Ratop, and then we can discuss the environmental, the ecotourism with Peter in September, and how we can reach SDGs. So we need to probably think about planning carefully the topics of our meetings, not to have overlaps. So maybe within the Northern Forum, we need another working group, the working group on tourism. Oh, Halder, hi. So we have been talking a lot about you today. So I'm glad that you have managed to join us. So if you have something to say, please do.
Thank you, Vladimir. Thank you all. I'm very sorry that I was traveling and I couldn't make the time frame until very, very late. But it's always extreme pleasure to see all of you, and Dimitri, nice to see you, and Christina also, of course, and everyone else, and Peter Prokost I saw was there, and I saw in the text his comment about ecotourism, and of course, tourism in the Arctic is extremely important. I mean, it's probably the way for us to get young and educated back in many places. Like they can come home at least for a period of the year, which is, of course, an advantage. We've seen in developments in Iceland, because I've happened to be working a lot around tourism in Iceland over the years, believe it or not. And what happened, of course, in the COVID period is the frightening part is like the entrepreneurs, the smaller companies, etc. They were the ones that were not established enough, because tourism it's a seasonal thing. And a lot of small companies have gone bankrupt and or or swallowed up by the bigger companies. So it's always that battle between entrepreneurship and then the bigger companies coming in when the big market is sort of almost established. So it's difficult, and at the same time, we also see, looking around the Arctic, that tourism is not enough to sort of justify infrastructure development. It usually has to be linked to something else. Like you look at what's happening in Iceland, you look at what's happening in Greenland, you look at Tromsø. Tromsø is an extremely good example. It was first the oil, and then tourism came after the oil sort of development, because they had the principal hotels, they had the airport, etc. So yeah, it's difficult, but I think it's extremely important topic for the Northern Forum, because it provides a lot of opportunities, especially for the indigenous people, of course, and for youth, because tourism can provide seasonal jobs that can support tourism in communities where again, as I said before, youth can come home for at least the summer period to work at home and maintain the roots. Because if you want tourists, like youth, to come back home, they have to maintain the roots, and that's why it's so important. It's also very interesting to see now I'm actually now in Reykjavik, and I've been up in Akureyri for the past weeks. There's two huge yachts owned by Russian oligarchs placed in the Reykjavik harbor right now, and it shows that there's a lot of interest in the Arctic. The A yacht has been up in Iceland for more than a month now. I think it's more than almost 2 months, and that's why I think a lot of the potential for us in terms of getting the interest of the people that have the resources to help us develop some of those activities may be there. So let's consider it, because it's really interesting for me to see that those well-off people, they seek to the north in the time of COVID instead of somewhere else. So yeah, let's look at it as an advantage, and let's try to market our safe haven in the north for the years to come, because we also have to look long term, because tourism in the past has been too much short term. I mean, it hasn't been sort of a long-term vision. It's been very difficult for people to invest. So let's look at that. But I think, again, like Vladimir just mentioned, it's an extremely important topic for the Northern Forum, and as Dimitri mentioned, also for the upcoming meeting of the Chambers of Commerce. It is probably the most important topic, and linking it again to what Peter mentioned about climate change and the topics of the United Nations. We can hit all those boxes. We can do it, really. So thank you for allowing me to make a few comments.
Халдор, здесь сегодня была очень хорошая презентация Анастасии Дейко по фотографированию, по созданию фотоархива, что было раньше с Арктикой и что сейчас. Она здесь присутствует, по-моему, все еще.
Haldur, we had a very interesting presentation by Anastasia Deiko about making a photo archive. I think that you could launch a very good project together with her. So, dear friends, is there anybody else who would like to say something? We have been working for 2 hours and 30 minutes now, and
Christina?
So if we don't have any further questions today, I would like to thank all of you for your time. Special thank you to all wonderful speakers we had today. Great presentations and discussions, and a lot more to come. This is very exciting. I will work with Vladimir on a schedule for the next call, and we'll send all of you the invitation and information soon. With all of us being all over the world and growing participants every month, we will continue to rotate our meeting times from month to month to accommodate as many interested as possible. So our next meeting will be scheduled for the middle of July, but will be scheduled for a different time of the day. We will send you the information and the invitation hopefully next week. If you would like to speak during our next meeting, please email me or Vladimir and let us know. Or if you think, when you see the topic, if you think of somebody who should be part of that call, please let us know. We would be happy to add them to agenda.
Да, и, конечно, мы вас всех просим находить хороших спикеров по
And
заявленным.
yes, of course, we kindly ask you to find good speakers on our topics for our like this business relations circle would grow and become more useful for all of us. So thank you. It was very good to see you.
And we are looking forward to talking with all of you next month. Спасибо.
Да, и запись доступна на YouTube-канале.
And you will be able to get the recording on YouTube channel.